yourself.
Go us.
The hell?
I don't understand.
I don't
Does
either.
not compute.
In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about VAMPS Fresh Blood by Nicole Arend. Let's see if I can do it right this time. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. And today we're going to discuss VAMPS Fresh Blood by Nicole Arend.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
Can I apologise now because I feel like I'm having a daft half hour in my brain?
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. I'm having a daft half hour in my brain.
I feel like this episode is going to be like doing a service for people. Maybe more so than some of our other ones. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like people will want to read this book, but then also won't want to read it at the same time.
I understand. If you were asked or wanted to read a vampire boarding school book, this would not be your first pick.
No. But also,
It's got something about it.
there's something about it.
And I can't name what it is. Maybe as we discuss it, as we
Maybe
do
we'll
the
figure it
summary
out.
and talk about, we might figure it out.
Maybe we'll figure
But
it
it
out.
remains elusive. It is in the coffin, shall we say?
It is. It is still in the coffin. So I have some background information that I found that led me to do research. So I have like double background information today.
Ooh.
And I cited my sources.
Yay!
Yay! So the first article that I read was from United by Pop, and it's called Nicole Arend Chats Building Her Unique Vampire Hierarchy in VAMPS Fresh Blood. So that's not what the title of the article is. That's the question that I read. I don't know words. This is what we're going to be talking about right now.
That's not even a question. That's a statement of fact.
It's words. It's just words is what it is. So
it's just a sentence.
I
Let's
discovered
just
no, I don't even think it's a sentence. It's just words. So I found these words in my background info.
Just words.
But she says one of the trickiest parts was working out the vampire hierarchy in VAMPS and how it would work. I can't give too much away about Dylan's special blood, but the inspiration for that came from finding out about the world's rarest bloods. A blood called golden blood exists for real, and less than 50 people in the entire world have it. So I was like, what? Are you serious? And then I read some more things, and I read about RH null blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's the rarest blood type in the world, and it doesn't have any antigens at all, which makes it like the universal donor, and it can work for people who have rare blood types already. It can work for anyone. It will work on anyone. And there are only 43 people on Earth that have ever reported having it. And back when it was discovered in the 60s, or around that time, the doctors just decided, you know what? If you have a baby and it's going to have this blood type, it's not even going to survive. But it does. And now golden blood is the most delicious blood in the Vamps universe, apparently. But I think that's really interesting. Like, I didn't know that that was a real thing. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. It's golden blood. It's amazing. But I didn't, and I honestly, I kind of thought it was a little stupid sounding,
Mm.
but it's real. It's real in the real world. And it's not her fault that it's so stupid sounding.
Yeah. It was like, oh, Dylan, you're gonna have this golden blood. Like, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Why?
but like, is it gold? No, it's
No.
just rare.
Well, what makes it rare? Like,
I can
hmm.
only assume that they're drinking actual golden blood from one of these few donors that actually exist in the world.
Yeah. You know how I say sometimes you don't need exposition? Like, you don't need to dumb it down for people.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of those instances where actually a little bit of exposition would have made it a little bit better.
Yeah. Like, this is golden blood. It's rare. And then Dylan would be like, oh, why is it so rare? And like, oh, well, because it doesn't, it's a universal blood type. That's good enough. It
Yeah.
doesn't, like, any, it saves people's lives, literally.
It's more universal than Oneg, you know?
Yeah. Like, the people who have that can also have it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That would have been, it would have been like half of a sentence that we could have added that would have made golden blood
Yeah, I would have appreciated it.
slightly better.
Yeah, because then it kind of makes the name sound less dorky.
It's just, it
It
sounds,
still is dorky. It's hugely dorky.
it
But you know who we
is
blame for that?
science.
Scientists.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder who named Golden Blood Golden Blood.
I don't know, probably some dude in the 60s or before or earlier than that. 20s? It sounds like a 20s thing. 1880, the gold rush.
Well, it was 1961 a person with golden blood was discovered. So it's got to be 60s. I feel like this is a rabbit hole we could
We could dig deep. We could sift through the fake gold and find the real gold if we wanted to.
I have access to all the all the major medical databases. I could get this information.
Well, if you want to do that research
I could
and
do it right
share it,
now. I've got the credentials.
no, we don't want to do it right now because we need to talk about this book, but maybe later.
Hmm. I'll go to bed instead, I think.
Probably. You'll forget about it.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Depends
Yeah.
if it's open access or not.
Yeah.
What's the paywalls? Medical journals like their paywalls.
I mean, you want me to do some interlibrary loans at the library? We can
Oh, I can
together
get
we can
those.
discover all of this. We can
Oh
do
yeah.
it.
We have the skills. We have
You
the
have
technology.
you have easier access than I have, though, since you do medical things. Do you have golden blood?
No. I don't actually know what my blood type is. I've
I
forgotten.
don't
It was
either. Me too.
it I had I mean obviously during pregnancy you get bloods taken a lot.
Yeah.
Um funny story, years and years and years ago, the nurse tried to take blood from me and I was that freaked out by it, the whole thing. I nearly lamped on one. I nearly punched the
Oh, no, I don't mind. You can have my blood.
No, I was not keen. So in the end she was like, yeah, just pee in a cup instead. To be fair, I was like 13, 14 at the time. So when I actually was pregnant and I had to take bloods, I had to grit and bear it.
Yeah.
But if you try to take from my right arm, it's the most painful thing in the world. So you have to take it from the left. And every time I was like, nope, left, left. And they're like, but we've already done left. I'm like, I don't care. You're doing the left again.
I don't mind. You can have my blood. It doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me anymore. Like I've wrote yeah, to the point where I'm actually like thinking I need to go and start donating it.
I don't think anyone wants my blood for donating purposes,
Mm,
but I don't mind. You can take it and do
mm.
studies on it if you want.
Science!
Science,
You
yay!
might have golden blood.
I don't have golden blood. I have
No.
regular boring blood, but I don't remember what kind it is. But I know that
Yeah.
it's boring.
I know mine's regular and boring. It was on the notes. I just don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. So, do, blood aside, do you have any initial thoughts about
The
this
word
book?
blood is used a lot in this book.
Yeah, you mentioned that because you read this one before I did, and like I didn't catch it. It didn't bother me. It
Oh,
didn't stand out to me as much as it did to you.
it
I
got to the point it was irritating.
but also I feel like it's necessary because there's not another word that you could say in place of blood in these.
Plasma.
No.
No, to be
No.
fair, the title is Vamps Fresh Blood.
Yeah,
I
and then
expected, but gosh darn, there's a lot of uses
well,
of the
and then
word blood.
every chapter title is also blood. Blood, something blood, every single one. So I get that. But yeah, I didn't blood is important in this book.
Yes,
So I
but
don't
it's one
mind.
of those earworm things where until
Is it
you hear it, you
yeah.
can't, you
Is it
don't
like
hear it.
Box in the Woods? Box, 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 box,
It
box,
it did
box,
start to
box.
lose all meaning to me, yes.
Yeah.
It it's like when somebody talks in the third person about themselves, right? And until you notice it, until somebody points out, did you know that such and such talks about them in the about themselves in third person? You don't hear it, and then suddenly you hear it, and you can't not hear it. What it can never be unheard
Who
again.
are you
And then
hanging out with that speaks
I
about
used to
themselves
I
in the
used to
third
work with somebody
person?
who referred to themselves in the third person,
No, no,
and no, it is
mm-mm,
verifiable. You can check. You can check.
no.
And it was just the weirdest thing, and nobody else heard it. And then I was like, "Do you realize such and such talks about themselves in the third person?" And then suddenly everybody could hear it, and you could see the faces around the room going, "Oh no,
No,
oh!"
no.
And I actually pointed out to them, I went, "Why do you talk about yourself in the third person?" And they went, "Do I?" They didn't even realize.
Oh, no, I don't like
Apparently, they
that.
don't do it so much as now. But
You
yeah.
embarrassed them. You shamed them.
No, oh God, no, this was years ago. I didn't. And you could not shame this person. It was a delight. It turned from like weirdness to delightful quirk.
Hmm,
But yeah,
that's
it
good.
was like the word box. It's like this person referring to the third selves in the third person. I could not hear it.
Yeah.
And it was just like it was
So
getting
you like did you cringe every time they said blood in
I
this?
did, but then I started to go a bit blind to it, like the word
You were
box just
you were
lost all
blood blind?
meaning. I was blood blind, and
Yeah.
then it started up again. It's like this, you know when you keep listening to the same song and you love it, then suddenly you hate it, and then you can't stand it, and then you love it, and then you can't stand it, and then it was like that.
That's how you feel about blood.
So I feel about blood,
Okay.
blood,
Okay.
what up, blood?
I don't know if I have initial thoughts, like actual pre-reading the book thoughts. Because I feel like I didn't really know anything about this book. And like we found it a while back, in our never ending quest for vampire books.
Mm,
But it just like, it wasn't like, oh my God, Vamps is out now, so I have to read it.
no, no. It was a, it was kind of planned in though with the boarding school theme of the book club
Mm-hmm.
this month,
It's a
so
really
that
nice fit because
yeah,
we like to read at least a vampire book every time. And so this was just a really, it fit in nicely with how we do things.
yeah,
It was convenient.
I like convenient.
Yeah.
You conveniently start the summary.
Yeah, I'm gonna. 9 students: Ace, Angelo, Aaron, Asta, Bram, Celeste, Dylan, Jeremiah, and Sade are traveling through the snow to a small town. Most come by expensive cars, a few by snowmobile, some even by helicopter. Dylan arrives by dog sled and snowshoe. It is 1000% clear he is an outsider. But according to his Da, it's time for him to embrace this other half of his life, even though he knows literally nothing about it. This half of him came from his mother, and he has no idea who she even is. Before leaving him alone with a group of wealthy and entitled 18-year-olds, Dylan's Da gives him a necklace that once belonged to his mother. She didn't leave him on purpose, but for his own safety. And this is all he has of hers. Oh, and that half of her DNA that makes him a Dhampir, because he's a Dhampir in the middle of a group of vampires, and he has a racing heart and flushed cheeks that everyone else immediately notices. Fuck.
Blood. Not long after arriving and feeling completely the odd man out, the headmistress, Madame Duplage, and deputy headmister, Mr. Hunt, of VAMPS Academy arrive to take the group the rest of the way to the school. They'll be flying, which is obvious since the teachers arrived as a peregrine falcon and a raven and transformed. The group sorted into flyers who will fly alongside Mr. Hunt and non-flyers who will grasp onto Madame Duplage's cape to travel to the school. Dylan, of course, is a non-flyer, but so are Sade and Angelo, so at least he's not the only one who can't fly. Dylan accidentally lets go of the cape and nearly plummets to his death, but Madame Duplage catches him and they make it to the school. Imagine all that lovely blood all over the hillside.
Oh, it would have been so much blood. Blood
Tasty.
splatter everywhere.
Yeah.
Inside the school, Madame Duplage sends Angelo to find his room, but asks Sade to wait while she and Dylan have a chat. Dylan knows nothing about this school or about vampires at all, but Madame Duplage assures him that his mother, who she obviously knows, must have been very powerful to be able to produce a Dhampir child, because that rarely, if ever, happens. Now he's here to learn to master his vampire side. Dismissed, Dylan finds Sade and they go to their rooms, which have sleek coffins inside instead of beds. Along the way, they meet a few other students who arrived separately: Cora, Frederick, and later Bick. And then Dylan learns that they're supposed to dress for dinner and a ceremony. Jeremiah, his roommate, is the most gorgeous guy ever and offers to help Dylan find something appropriate to wear. Aaron lends him a suit, and they all travel to the induction ceremony.
The induction ceremony begins with Madame Duplage telling everyone the rules at VAMPS, which include never leaving the castle alone, never harming or killing a human, never harming or drinking from another student, and telling someone if you develop mind control powers. Okay, simple enough.
Sure.
Madame Duplage then has blood drawn from each student, perfectly normal for every boarding school, and then makes them drink from her. Okay. Which is that's just super awkward for Dylan, who only literally just found out about his vampire side and who has never drunk blood before. Poor Dylan. He watches others drink and finds it really sexy, but also really weird. And then when it's his turn, he obviously is surprised at the fangs that pop out of his gums. And then he drinks a little. Well, actually, he drinks a lot. And it seems Madame Duplage kind of likes it. But then Dylan passes out. That's not sexy.
How? Surprise fangs! Like, what? How? This is the first time you've ever encountered blood before?
Well, that is a question I have. And also, Shirley's had a dental x-ray at some point. Or like, a dentist has gone, they're a bit pointy.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, they're hidden, so there's that. But, like, they would show up in an x-ray.
Yeah.
Upon waking, Dylan finds himself in the school sanatorium with Dr. Meyer, and Cora and Jeremiah are there to check on him. Dylan is embarrassed about passing out, but both Cora and Jeremiah seem to be decent about it, and now they want to spring him from the hospital so they can go to the pool. Everyone else is there and getting acquainted, aka everyone is making out with everyone else
That's sexy.
constantly.
It's just so sexy.
Dr. Myra is hesitant to let Dylan leave since he's just had his first blood and no one knows how he'll react. So Jeremiah and Cora leave. Sade comes by a little later and has such a calming aura around her that Dylan is able to relax and is released from Dr. Meyer's care. Sade takes Dylan to the pool, but they're not really interested in staying until Dylan feels himself wildly attracted to Cora. After some sexy partying that Dylan does not really participate in, he and Sade leave. As they approach their rooms, he gets nervous about sleeping in a coffin. Sade teaches him about coffins, and then he climbs in and goes to sleep.
Some sexy partying. Oh yeah,
There's
it's
so much
sexy.
sexy partying all the time.
Oh well, of course, in the Swiss Alps. What else do you do?
Drink blood.
Dylan wakes with a start, freaked out and not able to remember where he is. Things click back into place enough, and then he realizes he woke up because he has to pee. So, vampires have bathrooms? Huh? After wandering around for a bit, Dylan doesn't find a toilet, so he pees into a potted plant, then continues wandering around.
What if he had to poop?
He would poop in the potted plant. It's
Do you
fertilizer.
think so?
It's a bit of night soil. He realizes with his new baby vampire abilities that he doesn't smell great, so he takes a shower. But then Celeste joins in. Dylan nervously covers his junk and is enthralled by Celeste's naked beauty. She informs him that vampires don't care about nudity and they don't stare, so he apologizes and leaves. Ace comes in after, Dick presumably back dangling, and joins Celeste in the shower. Oh wink, sexy shower
I
time.
don't even know if the wink wink is necessary here
No,
because it's so sexy all the time.
just take it as given that there are people having sex everywhere.
All the time, constantly in the
Constant
background.
sex.
Yeah.
All the sex.
Later, all the students will join together to pick the VE.
Will they now? Will
they?
they?
They will. They will.
Why?
I need to start that sentence again.
Yes, you do. I'm going to mute myself so you don't get us giggling.
Thank you. Later, all the students will join together to pick the VE, the vampire elect of their year. There are 3 years at VAMPS, and everyone at the school will be there to watch this ceremony. Before it begins, the leader of the 3rd years, Mahina, shows them around the school. Cora asks her a bunch of questions about being expelled and if anyone has ever been expelled before, but Mahina says she knows there have been students expelled, and that's the end of the conversation. Back at the choosing ceremony, each year 1 student will drink a sample of everyone else's blood. Using their vampire instincts, they will decide which sample is the best, and the one with the most votes will be the VE of the year.
Sounds legit. Listener, Amanda looks so confused by the entire concept. Democracy, yay?
I don't even know. I don't know.
No, neither do I. Well, guess who the winner is? Ooh, this is our shocked face. Dylan is the winner, but Bram and Celeste are pissed about it. Well, most everyone finds it odd, but they're the most vocal because Bram is an asshat. They clearly thought they would be the best, and that Dylan shouldn't even be included because he's a dampier and doesn't even belong at the school at all. Racist much? Bram is named Deputy VE, but clearly that's just not good enough for him. Madame Duplage, using mind powers, is able to convince Dylan that he is good enough because his mother is a very powerful vampire. But who is she? But Bram, pulling a Draco Malfoy, says his father will hear about this. Excellent child. Before Madame Duplage lets Dylan leave, she requests more of his blood to do testing on because it is clearly very special and or delicious. Yeah, she's totally necking it.
Ugh. After visiting the sanatorium for a blood draw, Dylan rejoins the rest of his classmates at a blood bar that reminds him of a bloody Starbucks. He enters Starbloods, book name not ours, to overhear several students talking about him and how he shouldn't be there and definitely shouldn't be VE, but he is, so shove it. Bram almost convinces him to step down using some compulsion, but Dylan glances at Sade and snaps out of it. Then Bram uses more mind powers to try to hurt Dylan, but Jeremiah steps in to defend him. It's clear that Sade and Jeremiah are on his side, though he can't stop thinking about Cora for whatever reason. Then Asta comes by and kisses him full on the mouth.
Ooh, it's sexy.
She must be on his side too. Either that or she's just turned on and or sexually aggressive, which tends to happen literally all the time at this school.
It's a sexy school.
It's so sexy all the time.
Sade and Dylan leave Starbloods. I love that name, by the way. It's so bad. I love it. It's just perfect. Mwah. Mwah. Love it. Anywho, Sade and Dylan leave Starbloods and he tells her about Madame Dupleasure taking more of his blood to examine it. So maybe he shouldn't be the VE. But Sade disagrees and just thinks that his blood must be very special. When Dylan mentions that his mother is apparently some super important vampire, Sade decides she wants to figure out who his mother is and offers to do her own testing of his blood. They discuss their upcoming classes after that, which include lessons about fighting and defense, controlling their desires and using mind abilities, and extra choices like vampire history and vampire medicine.
Classes are so stupid. The
Who
first
needs
class,
maths?
well, but they are 18, so it's extra school after their original schooling.
It's true. It's
Surely-
like Vampire University, really, isn't it?
Yeah, surely they've all gone to some sort of school before.
They should have some basic education at this point.
Homeschool at
To be
least.
fair, a lot of them are really like rich and titled, so they're probably not brilliant.
Probably. And I mean, most of them don't seem very smart. Anyway, the first class the next day is Combat, Hunt, and Protect. Mr. Hunt talks to the students about why hunting might be important to eat and or take out rogue vampires. And then they begin learning to fight with Borzak, a former human MMA champion who is a turned vampire. And I'm sorry, but I need to just stop right now and talk about the audiobook and how before picking this ebook up to summarize it, I thought his name was Balsack. I never would have thought that his name was spelled Borzak. I swear, Balzac. Balsack. His name's Balzac. So, listeners, you'll forgive me. I think I killed Claire. You'll forgive me if I call him Balzac. That's all I heard the entire time. Balzac.
Oh, there's a hot flash.
Okay. Back to the summary. So, they begin learning to fight with Balzac, a former human MMA champion who is a turned vampire. Dylan is put in the ring against Balzac and gets pounded, but then he literally starts seeing red when his vampire traits kick in and he fights back, getting several good punches in on Balzac before it's someone else's turn to practice. Balzac is impressed with how quickly Dylan let his vampire instincts take over. ballsack is really impressed. I'm so glad that was my paragraph. My favorite is that ballsack gets pounded. And then ballsack gets punched. And then ballsack is impressed.
I keep having to mute myself so I'm not so loud. Oh, okay. This is your doing. Okay.
I'm not sorry.
I know you're not. I'm not sorry. This is hilarious. My stomach is killing. The lost muscles have been rediscovered. Oh. Okay. Later in class, they move to a sensory deprivation lesson. In pairs, they're put in completely dark rooms filled with dry ice and are meant to seek the other out and pin them down. First, Bram goes against Aaron, and Bram uses his mind powers to attack, but Aaron is able to push through the mind pain and wins the match. Next, Dylan and Cora go in. Somehow, Dylan is able to hear Cora's thoughts and is able to find her and avoid her attacks. They roll around sexually. And eventually, Cora wins. But it is very impressive that Dylan was able to hear her thoughts in the first place, though he decides not to tell anybody about that. His mother must be powerful indeed. Yes, because she's a badass lady.
Sexually
Oh, single ladies.
The next class is about desire.
Ooh.
And it's taught by Madame Duplage. Dylan almost decides to skip, but Jeremiah convinces him it would be better to go. Madame Duplage talks to them about controlling their desires so they can go on a ski trip later in the school year. And she learns that Angelo is extremely attracted to Dylan's blood. To help him control his craving, she has Angelo lick Dylan's neck right there in front of the whole class. It's not inappropriate or awkward at all for anyone. After this display, she has the students pair up and imagine their partners as corpses. Cora freaks out and runs from the room. Dylan is already upset, thinking he's never going to be able to be around his da again without wanting to eat him. Madame Duplage assigns homework before the class ends. Each student will have to keep a vial of pure human blood in their room with them all night and not feed until the next day at midnight. If any blood is missing from a student's vial, they'll fail the assignment.
Ooh. Their homework is not like my homework. Cora is waiting for Dylan after class and takes him to the roof so they can be alone. Sexually, not really. She tells him about her brother who was expelled from VAMPS and is now missing. She misses him terribly and doesn't even know if he's still alive, but she knows that Bram's father had something to do with it, which is why she's dating Bram. Of course. They make a good match, but more so the brother thing. Now she wants Dylan's help because he is VE. Dylan wants Cora and she wants Dylan too, and they almost kiss sexually. But then Cora pulls away. Dylan gets mad because she's using Bram and she's using him, so he leaves.
Back in his room, the blood is delivered, and both Dylan and Jeremiah struggle with not drinking it. Jeremiah goes to Bick's room, presumably to burn off his desire sexually. and Dylan tries to fall asleep. He's woken by Sade, who alerts him that several parents have arrived to try to get him removed from his position as VE and from the school altogether. Her parents are there, as well as Bram's and Celeste's. Madame Duplage has them all try Dylan's blood, and though they agree that it is powerful and delicious, they still don't want him at the school. Mr. Hunt is also there, and after the parents leave, he tries to convince Madame Duplage that the parents are right and Dylan doesn't belong. She disagrees. Sade turns to Dylan and decides they need to do their own testing, and soon.
When Dylan returns to his room, Jeremiah is still not there, and he struggles again with the bloodlust homework. Dylan goes to Frederick and Aaron's room and finds them, plus Angelo and Asta having a sexy dance party. Frederick offers Dylan and really tries to get him to drink it, but suddenly Dylan is able to hear her thoughts. She thinks if Dylan drinks the illegal blood, she'll have control over him, so he leaves the room. Pacing around and not knowing what to do, Dylan runs into Cora again. They apologise to each other and sit together peacefully, but the next morning, Cora insists that they sneak away from each other so as to not let anyone know they were spending time together, even as friends. I have so many issues with Cora.
I hate Cora.
I despise her.
In their first class the next day, they learn from a hippie, human-turned-vampire, Professor Sandu, about mingling with humans. Dylan is already used to this, but might struggle more now that he's got bloodlust. At the professor's insistence, Dylan explains that vampires look and act differently than humans, which duh, and that they'll need to keep their fangs in. But then the teacher explains that all of this is true and that they'll need to be prepared to hide their vampiric traits when they go on the ski trip. Literally, her suggestion is for them to always wear sunglasses. She pulls
Hey, it worked for Clark Kent, didn't it?
It did. She pulls a vial of blood. She pulls out a vial of blood and everybody's fangs shoot out, and then she examines them all closely and realizes that several have had their fangs modified. Jeremiah's are gold, Celeste's have diamonds, and Angelo's are engraved. Professor Sandu tells them about special fang guards that she will have them fitted for before the ski trip. After this, Dylan gets woozy and passes out. He's taken to the sanatorium and then is allowed to take his blood earlier than scheduled and is met by Professor Ducan, who tells him he's working to identify the best blood type for him to drink. He's offered a rare treat, golden blood, which is very pure, unique, expensive, and real in the real world. See background info. Everyone is jealous, especially Bram, but Dylan feels so amazing, he doesn't even care.
Flying lessons are next, and Dylan fails spectacularly in the vertical wind tunnel. But Churro, the bat-like flying instructor, believes he'll get the hang of it, even though he crashes around several times. Mr. Hunt, who seems to really hate Dylan, and you could possibly even change the H to a different letter, puts him in the horizontal tunnel, even though he's really not ready for it, and forces him to fly with Cora. He does so amazingly well after getting a spark of power from Cora, and together they fly at speeds close to 150 miles per hour. Everyone is impressed, though some very reluctantly, and Sade hugs Dylan, but then she turns away, embarrassed, and leaves. Dylan doesn't understand and feels a strong attraction to her, but then Bram taunts him about flying outside, and Frederick asks him for flying help. When he turns back to Sade, she's gone.
Can you please explain what you meant by changing one letter of hate?
Hunt.
Oh, you could change his name to Mr. Hate. No?
Take the H out. The Hunt.
Hate.
Change it.
See, yeah, I was like, he really wants to mate Dylan. He wants
might
to
actually
date Dylan. He wants to
bait.
Well, yeah, he does, and he wants to.
There was a horrible politician in the UK whose surname was Hunt, but that's not what anybody called him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get it. I was trying to figure out a different letter for hate. I didn't even realize that you were talking about Mr. Hunt or Cunt. Where were we? A week or so passes, and Dylan takes private flying lessons with Chiro and gets better, but he struggles with takeoff without the boost he gets from Cora. Bram taunts him, and Asta asks if he wants to practice with her and Ace, but no. Frederick catches Dylan and brings him back to his room. Dylan thinks to offer him illicit blood again, but no. This time, Frederick wants him to gamble. He's got
Ooh, sexy.
bets going on about who will win the flying challenge that will be happening soon, but Dylan hasn't got any money, so he won't be betting.
Dylan calls his father later and finally gets to talk to him after so many other calls have been ignored. The call is short and leaves Dylan upset because it seems his father knows more than he's letting on about Dylan, his mother, and school, and implies that Dylan could be in danger but gives no details. That is so fecking frustrating.
Frustrating. Oh my God.
Well, Dylan, who is obviously frustrated after the call, doesn't notice Sade's arrival. He asks about what happened after the first flying lessons, but she brushes that off and says they're going to break into Professor Ducan's lab later so she can test his blood.
In the next class with Madame Dupleix, she reveals that Jeremiah failed his bloodlust homework and tells him he'll have to try again. Then she asks Angelo how he's dealing with his desire for Dylan's blood. He takes a big sniff and seems fine, but then he gets embarrassed when Madame Dupleix calls him out for wearing nose plugs. Dylan feels extremely embarrassed and realizes he's feeling Angelo's emotions. Dylan encourages Angelo and believes that he can overcome his desire, which makes Angelo feel much better. After class, Bram taunts Dylan about Cora and offers to trade her for position as VE, which makes Dylan see red, literally. But then they're pulled apart by Mr. Hunt and Madame Dupleix, who asks to see them in her office.
Madame Dupleix tries to stop Bram from taunting Dylan so much, but then she tells him that Countess Bibiana Fasciano?
No,
We'll go
Fasano.
Fasano. One of the most powerful vampires in the world will be coming to their school to teach a lesson about mind control and international relations and to watch the ice challenge to see if any students might be worthy to join her vampire secret services team. Dylan and Bram will escort her around the school if she needs it. Madame Dupleix dismisses them and Dylan finds Cora waiting for him. She asks why he and Bram fought, but he doesn't tell her that Bram offered her to him for the same reason, trying to be the bigger man, presumably. Cora leaves Dylan after telling him he's different, which isn't really a nice thing to say, and he gets mad again because their relationship is so fucking weird. They run into each other later when he's practicing flying, and he tells her that he's going to talk to the Countess and find out about her brother and the joy she has in learning that gives Dylan the spark he needs to take off and fly on his own. Ugh. I do not like her.
I don't either. Sade texts Dylan after that and tells him she's going to meet him later to break into Ducan's lab. But while they're in there, they don't find anything useful. Sade offers to send a fresh sample to her sister who studies blood disorders, so she bites into his arm and collects a vial. They separate quickly after that because Sade, who didn't intend to swallow any of Dylan's blood, clearly did and says it's much stronger than it was before. This causes a problem between them later because Sade is clearly attracted to Dylan, and now she's got a bad case of bloodlust, just like Angelo. She feels bad because she isn't able to discover anything about his blood. Professor Ducan catches Dylan in between these meetings with Sade to tell him he's got a new blood type, and they're going to have extra security around him now, just to be safe. Well, that's great. Nothing to worry about.
It's all okay.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry at all. Nothing at all to worry about.
Do you know what else you don't need to worry about?
What?
The flight trial.
Oh.
Yeah. It's time for the first real competition of the school. Dylan is panicking because he still can't take off well without thinking of Cora.
Ugh.
Yeah. Luckily for him, she is his partner. Mr. Hunt tells all the students the course they are to fly only within the school grounds because no one can enter them without his or Madame du Pleasure's permission, and gives them GPS trackers and tells them they are to stay with their partners. The first team back is the winner. Everyone takes off, except for Dylan, who Cora has to come back and kiss for fuck's sake, and then they take off. They quickly catch up to Bram and Angelo, who are leading, but then Bram gets mad and speeds up way too much for Angelo to keep up with. He loses control and plummets to the ground. But Bram keeps flying because Bram's a dick.
Bram's a dick. Dylan, being the VE, does the honorable thing and takes off after Angelo to rescue him. They fall out of the school airspace and land on the roof of a small house. People come out to investigate, obviously, and Dylan is able to get Angelo into the woods before anyone sees them, but they both react vampirically to the smell of the human blood. Angelo can't control himself, so Dylan tempts him with his own blood, baring his neck to lure Angelo back. Just as Angelo is about to bite Dylan, Chiro lands next to them and alerts them that a rogue vampire is somewhere nearby and they have to get back to the school as quickly as possible.
When they arrive, Mr. Hunt is furious and blames Dylan for everything that happened and tells everyone that Dylan gave Angelo his blood, so he needs to be expelled. Mr. Hunt is
so
really
frustrating.
Hunt.
This is so frustrating to me.
Yeah. Yeah, like boiling anger, frustration.
Yes.
Madame du Plessis arrives and says that they have no evidence of that, and Cora steps in to defend Dylan and Angelo's character. Chiro does too and reports about the rogue vampire and about Dylan's amazing flying abilities and speed. If Bram hadn't flown so dangerously and abandoned his partner, none of this would have happened. So essentially, Dylan is better than Bram. Ha. Bram is pissed, but manages to tell Dylan that they'll be greeting the Countess Fasano when she arrives, and then teaches Dylan a little about her and about awards they could get after the next challenge, the Ice Challenge, which is coming up soon. After Bram leaves, Dylan is approached by Cora and they kiss. And then she regrets it, and Dylan is hurt, and we are frustrated and annoyed.
So bothersome.
Really is.
Classes go on as December arrives, and Dylan talks to his dad about Christmas. Then he and Bram fight over Cora in Combat, Hunt, and Protect, so basically things continue as normal. Madame du Plessis and Professor Duquesne tell Dylan that they've done more research on his blood, and it is a very, very rare type. It's possible that it's getting so powerful that Dylan will not need to drink blood to survive, but that means things will be more dangerous for him. So Chiro and Balsac might keep a closer eye on him. The Balsac really, really close to you. It's looking at you at all times.
It basically like sticks to you, like, you know, yeah.
It does.
Can't be aired out.
When Dylan immediately gets worried, Madame du Plessis comforts him, but he got worried on the inside. Did she read his mind? How? She has intuitive powers, and it seems Dylan might have these powers as well. According to Madame du Plessis, Dylan's mother is one of the best mind-reading vampires around.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh. Professor Duquesne and Madame du Plessis also tell Dylan that it seems that one of the parents who wants him out of the school has obtained a sample of his blood, and that the rogue vampire at the flight challenge might have been trying to kidnap him. Does that mean Sade let him down? Well, we'll find out. Her parents don't want him to be at the school, just like Bram and Celeste's. Can't. You like Sade? She's decent.
Yeah.
She's not Cora.
No.
He goes to see her after this meeting, and she and Bick are excited to tell him the same thing about his blood. Then Jeremiah comes in and they tell him to, even though both Madame Dupleix and Professor Ducant were like, don't tell anyone, okay? Dylan trusts Jeremiah with his life after all, and he knows he'd never hurt him. They all want Dylan to believe in himself because they do, and it's a very precious moment. It made even more precious because Cora is not there.
Yes. Oh, God. Later, at Starbloods, while Jeremiah is fueling up for his second round of bloodlust homework, Dylan asks him for information on Countess Fasano and learns that she's like the vampire equivalent of Hillary Clinton.
You're trying to kill me.
She's Countess Fasano, not Hillary Clinton, is very powerful and has a lot of sway in the vampire world and has progressed their kind in unimaginable ways. She's also the head of the Vampire Secret Service. Basically, she's the best, but she's also just like a good person. She and Madame Dupleix were best friends in school, too, and are still close. Fuel up complete, Dylan and Jeremiah go back to their room, but the bloodlust soon overtakes Jeremiah, and Dylan finds out by reading his mind and emotions. But with his help, Jeremiah passes the assignment this time. Way to go, Jeremiah.
Jeremiah was a bobcat. December turns into
Wait,
January.
did you say bobcat? Because the song is bullfrog.
No, I always sing bobcat because I don't like bullfrogs.
Oh, okay. I thought you just like misheard the lyrics wildly and like let
No.
her know.
No, I always sing bobcat.
Okay, that's fine.
December turns into January and Madame Dupleix begins teaching them mind powers. She mentions that she is a strong Inuit.
She's a strong Inuit.
Intuit. Damn it. My
Hillary
turn.
Clinton, the most powerful Inuit in the world.
Oh, God. It's going to be a long one. December turns into January and Madame Dupleix begins teaching about mind powers. She mentions that she is a strong intuit. I can't even say it now. Intuit. She is a strong intuit, and that Countess Fasano is the best at all mind powers. Oh my God, if you like her so much, marry her. But then the students learn that Bram is good at using the brain's electromagnetic pulses against people, that Celeste knows about compulsion, and that Jeremiah is good at shielding and could be a bobcat or bullfrog. We have not decided.
We are not sure yet.
After class, Sade approaches Dylan about not being able to be near him since she had his blood, and Dylan tries to help her cope, but it's just too much for her. Apparently, according to Jeremiah later, bloodlust is bad if someone is really attracted to the other person.
Oh.
I wanna fuck you and suck your blood. In a sexy, sexy way.
Sexy way.
Sexually.
Finally, it's almost ice challenge time. The other school years have their challenges, which include team transfiguration races and lots of bonkers mind power stuff like misting and weather control. But for some reason, the ice challenge seems like the worst and most difficult.
Let's give it to the first years.
Countess Fasano arrives, and Dylan, as VE, is asked to escort her around. He asks her a lot of basic questions, and she's impressed by him, even though he's basically a moron. But he's kind of precious at the same time. Plus,
it's the accent. Who doesn't love an Irish accent?
And everybody loves him for his blood, so whatever.
Nom, nom,
Using her extra special mind powers, Countess Fasano tells Dylan he needs to get himself and his powers under control and quickly because people are after him. Before they separate, Dylan asks about Cora's brother, but the only thing the Countess says is that he's an exceptional vampire. He tells Cora this later, thinking she's going to be disappointed, but she's not. She now knows that her brother is alive.
Yay!
Yay for present tense instead of past tense.
After a blood drinking ceremony, the students are broken up into teams for the ice challenge. Dylan will lead Cora, Shadia, Asta, Jeremiah, and Frederick, and Bram gets Ace, Aaron, Vic, Celeste, and Angelo. The challenge is very difficult, includes running down a mountain, finding a hidden clue, following the clue to a hidden package that could contain cocaine and blood, if this were like in the real world, and that is under the ice lake, retrieving it and returning to school first, all whilst being tracked by drones and maybe attacked by rogue vampires. It's busy, it's very busy.
Meanwhile, the second years are turning into bats and having a race.
Bat!
I wish.
Dylan's team manages to win, even though he almost drowns under the lake and is almost killed and or kidnapped by a real rogue vampire. He also manages to save Bram's life during this attack after realizing with his mind powers that Bram was badly injured. But he has to give him his blood to do so, which is forbidden. Bram doesn't tell anyone, though Madame Dupleix and Countess Fasano seem to know anyway. Everyone's just having a day. It's just a day,
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have gotten out of bed.
No. After the challenge, students are awarded prizes depending on how well they did. Sade, Celeste, Jeremiah, and Angelo earn pins, while Bram, Cora, and Asta earn tattoos. After other students in other years earn pins and tattoos too, Dylan thinks he's not going to get anything. But then, shocking no one, he is awarded the top prize, a full-color tattoo imbued with ancient vampire blood. Everyone is either super impressed or super jealous. Dylan calls his da later to tell him, but he already knows and says that Dylan's Madame Dupleix told him. What an interesting slip to make. Your
It's my Irish accent coming through.
Madame Dupleix.
Yes. Soon, it's ski trip time, the last challenge of the school year. The students are taken to a ski resort and sent into bars full of humans and are expected to blend in. Dylan leads Cora, Jeremiah, Frederick, Angelo, Asta, and Celeste, while Bram leads Shadia, Vic, Ace, and Aaron. Bram's group is smaller because the bar they're going to is smaller. They split up, and immediately Dylan's group starts sexually drinking vodka out of ice sculptures that look like naked bodies, and riling up all the humans sexually, whilst loudly calling them humans and talking about blood sexually. Dylan tries to stop them, but everyone's like, dude, you're so boring, and they keep drinking. Eventually, he lets go of some of his inhibitions, and Cora leads him off into an igloo where they have sex and bite each other. And we are not impressed.
Why is this a challenge for the first years?
Do you think they just want to give the first years all the hard challenges to hopefully kill them off so they've got less students later on?
Maybe, because this is insane, and it's also very, very stupid.
Yes, I agree. The entire bar scene just... Ugh. I have no words, only groans. I can only groan in frustration and annoyance by it.
Yes. When Dylan and Cora return separately, everything has gone to shit.
Oh no.
All the vampires are failing spectacularly at being human despite wearing sunglasses. And everyone's either fighting or extremely aroused or both. Dylan manages to get everyone under control just for someone to scream and find a dead body with her throat ripped out. Oh, great! Chiro arrives soon, followed by the other professors, and the ski trip is cut short. Upon arrival at school, and after speaking to police at the resort and compelling them and covering up the violent murder as a wolf attack, it is discovered that Dylan's blood was found on the corpse. So he is immediately condemned, isolated, and put on trial that would lead to his death. What? This happened
Well,
really
this is
fast.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, their democracy is based on having a drink of somebody's blood. So, do you honestly think their judicial system is going to be any more considered?
No, but it is wildly fast.
It's literally dead body, and then you hear the slam of the jail cell door.
Yes.
Well, only a few people believe that Dylan is not responsible, which is to be expected. But Dylan finds out that Jeremiah told everyone that he confessed to draining the girl in an attack of bloodlust and trying to heal her with his blood. What? That did not happen, like, at all.
At
What,
all.
Jeremiah? How could you? Sade, Chiro, and Professor Toucan begin to work to clear his name, but soon several ancient vampires arrive for the trial and take Dylan to the top of a mountain to cast judgment. Yeah, that's not a clear intent. Anyway, it's clear that someone is setting Dylan up, and that all the parents and Mr. Hunt want him to be expelled and put to death. Because they're all fucking racists. And then Celeste, Jeremiah, and Mr. Hunt all testify that Dylan is a murderer. This all happens very quickly as well.
So fast. Dylan is allowed to call upon 3 of his own witnesses to prove his innocence, but he only asks for Chiro, who says he didn't see it happen, but he was flying around as a bat most of the trip.
He's so cute.
Dylan refuses to call on Cora because he doesn't want to sully her reputation. But she comes clean anyway. Bram is disappointed in her, and Dylan feels really bad about sleeping with her, but what's done is done. Dylan wants to ask for Countess Fasano to read his mind, but she refused to attend the trial. Since Dylan's witnesses aren't good enough and no one believes him anyway, it's determined that he will die by being drained.
Just as an ancient vampire begins to suck Dylan's blood, he notices the necklace that belongs to Dylan's mother. He knows whose necklace that is, but shrugs it off and begins to drink anyway. Sade and Professor Toucan then arrive with evidence that Dylan was framed. Dylan's blood that was found at the scene was old blood, and, as has previously been determined, his blood is special and constantly changing and getting stronger. The blood that was found was the sample Sade took. She intended on sending it to her sister for testing, but it disappeared, and she was afraid she drank it in a fit of bloodlust. But actually, Celeste stole it.
Yes.
Found with the old blood was one of Celeste's fang diamonds.
Right.
She is the murderer and was setting Dylan up because she hates him because he's a Dampier and she is a massive racist. She also compelled Jeremiah to lie. What a dick.
Celeste's father is there, and he yells at his daughter, but Dylan is mentally connected to her and learns that her father was working on a vaccine for vampires so they wouldn't have to drink blood. But that's what Dylan's blood does all on its own. So clearly, Dylan would ruin his billion-dollar pharmaceutical plans, so he had to die.
Womp womp.
Dylan shares his intuition, and Madame Deplege backs him up, so he's no longer condemned to die. But Celeste is. Dylan tells everyone that it's her father's fault, so she is spared, but she wishes that she would have been killed instead. Everyone starts to go back to the school after this, and Jeremiah apologizes for being compelled, but Dylan's gonna need time to recover from such a betrayal. Cora and Bram go off together, which hurts Dylan. But then Sade is there, and they hold hands, and they fly back to the school.
Dylan wakes up in the middle of the night, completely exhausted from all the terrible events. But he realizes he's no longer in his room. He's now on a ship, but still in a coffin. Chiro is there, and also his Da, who introduces Dylan to his mother, who has whisked him away for his protection. Dylan's mother is Countess Fasano. Not really. Worked that out ages ago. She tells him that he'll be able to return to school after things cool down, but this time he'll be there as the son of the most powerful vampire in the world. Ooh. End of book 1.
Everyone take a break. Go and, drink some blood, have some sex, look at a ball sack, and then
Do some democratic voting via blood.
Yes. Imagine Hillary Clinton as the world's most powerful Inuit vampire. Now I want to make that into a t-shirt. We're taking a break for a second.
You're determined to kill me today.
This guy didn't have to try that hard. It's all in the book. None of it was fabricated.
Okay, so we've been recording for 1 hour and 6 minutes, and I can guarantee you about 45 minutes of that is me laughing.
Laughing about ballsack. Like, that's all I could hear. That's all I could hear. Ballsack. It did not sound like Borzak at all.
No, there was definitely no...
Bullsack. There was no R. There was no R sound at all.
Bolak. Well, you want to do a bad Russian accent, but you forget the R's. Bolak.
Bolsack.
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 My terrible Russian accent is Bolsack.
Bolsack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ballsack. I don't know. Ballsack. MMA fighter.
Just own it. Ballsack.
Yeah, his name's Ballsack. That's gonna be the name of the Facebook testicle from now on. Testicle in the ugly hat. Ballsack. Or Borzak.
Should it be Borzak or Ballsack? We need to decide. It needs.
I mean, do you even know what you're saying? There's no difference.
No.
Ballsack or Ballsack?
Perfection.
Okay. So,
is that your standout moment?
Yes, Ballsack. The paragraph talking about Ballsack getting punched and all of that was happening, that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing to have happened, because you were broken, and I'm really sad that you muted your microphone, because everyone who's watching this video, which is everyone can watch this video, by the way, they missed out on it. They missed out on you laughing, and it would have been amazing.
It would have been too loud and too long.
It was amazing, Claire.
Well, people just have to watch it to see me dying a slow death.
It was amazing. So, despite like how just like bad this summary was, I for some reason, like, I like the story. I like the idea of the school and the Dhampir having vampire powers. And I like the idea of all of it. But this is the author's first book, yeah?
I think it is,
This
yes.
is 1000% a debut. And so like, I want to read the rest of it because surely it'll get better. There are really good ideas. The idea is good.
It's Nicole Arend's only book on Goodreads. So it's safe to say, yes, it is probably her first published book.
So, I mean, good job getting published with this. And let's just like tighten it up for books 2 and 3 because I like the story. I don't really like how any of it happened, but I like the idea of it.
I like the principle, but not necessarily the execution.
Yes.
It was too busy. There was too much.
There were too many characters, I
Yeah,
think.
there was too many characters. There was too much going on. Um, it needed tightening up. Did we need all 3 challenges and the trial?
No,
Did the
because
challenges need to be so crazy?
it felt like the trial was rushed because of all of the
Yeah.
challenges. And I really don't like it doesn't make sense to me that, and I've already talked about this in the summary, that the first year's challenges were so fucking hard and the other people are just turning into bats.
Yeah.
Like, not that's probably very difficult as well. But your job, your challenge is to turn into a bat and have a race. But these guys are literally underwater for 40 minutes and then they have to fly around in the air and fight with people after running down a mountain. And then it's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it was too busy for me. Like we've said, there was too many people. There was a lot of lore thrown in all at once, mixed in with a huge cast of characters.
Yeah.
To the point where I felt the story was getting a bit lost. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted it to be establish Dylan, establish the Dampier and Vampire Society, establish that his blood is unique and it is evolving, and that the vast majority of the parents are racist against Dampiers, but also establish how rare a Dampier is. I didn't get that impression, just that they didn't like them. And also put a bit more mystery around his mother.
Yeah.
Because that annoyed me that it was as soon as Countess Fasano was mentioned, that's his mom. As the second it came out of Madame Duplessis' mouth, it was, well, that's his mother's coming to visit.
That bothered me so much because she was clearly trying to force you to think that it was Madame Duplessis. Obviously, it's Countess Fasano.
Exactly.
Obviously.
There was literally no mystery there.
None. Even though there were, red herrings of it being like, nah.
Nah, dog.
Nah. As soon as you mention Hillary Clinton, you're like, oh, that's his mom.
Yeah.
The most powerful vampire in the world. Of course, that's going to be his mother. Because they also mentioned, like, oh, no female vampire has ever been able to have a child before. So who's it going to be? Obviously, Countess Fasano, the most powerful vampire in the world.
Do you know what I would have liked? I would have liked if Dylan's dad could have been in a little bit more to give him like stories about his mother and Dylan as a baby. So he's kind of got this preconceived notion of who his mother is or something about his mother rather than absolutely nothing in a necklace. Like, have that kind of like, he's always dreamed about his mother being this person or that person. Like, he always thought it was um the village pub's daughter, landlord's daughter or something like
Yeah.
that. Have something kind of established where he thought, well, I always thought my mother was a girl from college or somebody who moved away from the village, and now I found out that she's a vampire.
Yeah.
Have like have some kind of context apart from I didn't know who my mum is, and now it turns out she's a vampire, and that's it. I didn't have any kind of build up or that desire to find out who the mother was, and it certainly at the end was not the big oh my god, it's the Countess, because it was just so freaking obvious,
Yeah. It really, really was.
which was a bit disappointing actually. Like, give us a big reveal.
Yeah.
Bram. Hello, Bram, come on. Really? You go with Bram? Was an obvious dickhead.
Yeah.
And it was just a bunch of mean girls. I struggled with
Yeah.
this.
Well, yeah, there were too many characters. There were too many characters that had like speaking roles and did important things. Like we need we need Jeremiah for the,
Yes,
for the backstabbing, because like Jeremiah, my, he might have been my favorite character, which is, I
he
guess,
was.
also a surprise that I have, because I like a lot of the characters, but there's so many of them, they're unnecessary. But like, I like Jeremiah, and I also like Sade, and I also like Angelo, and like Fred and Aaron are funny in the background. I like all of them, but it's just so much.
Yeah,
And also, I I should have I should have read this one after I started listening to the audiobook. I should have just put it aside. I should have put the audiobook aside and read it instead, because I did not like the audiobook. Like, some of the characters were fine. Dylan, great. Dylan's narration, fantastic. Even Madame Duplage, yeah, she's all right. It's a man playing a woman, but that's fine. Jeremiah got a little racist.
yeah.
Vic was violently Australian for some reason, with no description of that in her character. At least Jeremiah's like Caribbean voice was described in the text. Like, yeah, he is from that region. His skin color matches. Like, that's fine. That is where he is
It was
from.
correct.
It was
Yeah.
correct. But Vic is just a person, and she's like, "Oh, g'day, mate. I got my glasses on, yeah?" Like, what?
What the heck? Unless there's been a conversation with like the author, and the author has been able to confirm out of book that yeah, Vic's Australian, it's gonna come up in the second book or something. It was a choice that was made,
It was a
and
choice.
it was odd. But I also found that the narration was really old school. It was like, I mean, I've been listening to audiobooks for an amount of years.
Uh-huh.
Back in the 84 years.
Back when they were on cassette tapes.
Yes. I listen to them on vinyl. I still have audiobooks on vinyl. Um, so I've been listening to them for a long, long time, and it reminded me of audiobooks from the probably late 90s, early 90s. It was, I don't know, it just felt very old school. And I didn't quite gel with it. But I just I didn't have time when I listened to it to sit down and change to the book. So I muscled through on the
Yeah.
audiobook at high speed. Um,
Angelo also really bothered me
I just did.
because
I just did enjoy the audiobook narration.
no,
It
I didn't
wasn't
like,
great.
but I liked Angelo's character, you know, and he's over there constantly struggling with wanting to lick Dylan.
I
But
mean, to be fair, I also think that's part of the Angelo character. Did we need Angelo?
no, probably not. Did we need Bick? Did we need Aaron and Asta? Did we need Fred? No.
There was too many people, too big a cast of characters, too much rammed in, far too much time taken on the challenge. Like especially the ice challenge for me, I was getting a little bored, and not enough time at the trial.
Yeah.
It should have been simpler, tighter challenges. Have the three, fine, have the three. Make the challenges tighter. Let's cut down a little bit on the sexy times. And this is a person who enjoys listening to romance, and I listen to erotica. I don't mind a bit of sexy times.
Yeah.
But in this book, it was getting, it was, it was going beyond a stereotype.
Yeah.
And that was my problem. If it was have a sexy vampire, that's fine. I'll enjoy a sexy vampire, and I'll enjoy a sexy vampire having sexy times. But this was beyond a stereotype. It was like, right, it's a bunch of teenagers who probably the first time they're out of their parents' house, what they're going to do, they're going to fuck all the time. Well, I don't actually think that's necessarily the case. There are going to be some of them,
Mm-hmm.
but not all of them. You aren't
Yeah.
automatically going, I'm naked now.
Yeah.
Because it especially feels like they may have been living in boarding schools their entire lives because they're obviously, socially elite 1%. But it's just like, oh, we have no morals or qualms about being naked all the time, so just let your dingle dangle out.
How weird is that too? Because they're all like freshly 18, more or less.
Well,
And
I
Celeste
mean,
is like, it's totes fine to be naked all the time. And we all look at each other naked all the time. Like, you're still a child.
you're still
Who
a
has
child.
taught you this?
Yeah, I mean, from the point of view that it is legal from 16 in the UK and probably in the vast majority of Europe as well. Um,
That doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, but I just I couldn't gel with that. It was those little niggly things, those things that just bothered me.
Yeah.
Which what the my problematic parts, and I don't mean to talk negatively about this book, but when I was listening to it, I was like, I said to the book club, you need to read this one because I need to talk about it, and I think it's to try and justify my own thoughts and feelings about it.
Yeah.
Um, and Madame Dupleix, the beginning at the when they drink the blood from her,
Uh-huh.
right? It was extremely sexual. Okay, it was highly charged. I think one of them had an erection. They were all getting aroused.
Yeah. From
And
their teacher.
how freaking inappropriate. You're
So
drinking from your
inappropriate.
teacher who is over 100 years old. So not only is I mean, the main issue, she is an authority figure. She is a grown-ass adult in a position of authority, getting you to drink her in a highly sexually charged situation. You're being groomed. So, right, I was cringing. And when
Yeah.
that was at the beginning of the book, I was like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
I was genuinely concerned by what else I was going to be reading, and thankfully, it doesn't really go past that. Thankfully.
Yeah.
But I did not think that was great.
No, I feel like we could have seen Madame Dupleix because it's their like exchange of blood at the beginning. Like she was using her she was using her Inuit powers. She was using her powers of intuition to like get a vibe from them while they were feeding from her. But I don't know. I just feel like that could have been done in a different way.
It could have been done a lot more clinical.
She could have had a sit down one-on-one conversation with each student. And yeah, okay, maybe they'll drink your blood because they need to for whatever reason.
But do they need to drink from your inner thigh?
No,
You know,
that was super weird.
it was completely cringy and creepy, and I did not like it. And like you said, have a sit down one on one and drink. You know, have a blood exchange. It could be from a cup, or it could be you prick the finger and you take a drink that way,
Yeah.
and you have the taste that way. Do you need to? Do you need to go that far?
No.
And it felt like it was setting a tone for the rest of the story. That I was like, this is going to be dodgy, yeah. Like this could go into a very bad place. And I'm glad it stuck there and that was it. And then all we had
Yeah.
to deal with was the massive amounts of racism towards Dampiers.
Yes.
But yeah, I did not I that was weird and creepy and
Yeah.
yeah. Um I like the fact that Dylan is male. We had a male
Me too.
protagonist.
Yes, I know. A second male protagonist. I love that.
I
Yes.
also like the fact he was Irish as well. It makes a nice change.
Yes.
So I did appreciate that. I enjoyed the different take on the Dampier, that everybody saw him as weak, but actually, twist, he could be the most powerful vampire Dampier ever.
Yeah.
Take that, you dickheads. The VE, I get you have a student council, student rep. And I understand that the way that they choose, in a vampire society, you're going to choose it by the one that has the strongest blood.
Yeah.
I get that. But the blood democracy to one side. He just kept going, oh, I'm VE, I'm VE. And Bram's like, oh, I want to be VE. What the fuck are you doing, mate? You're doing literally nothing.
Yeah.
It's not like you're representing on like a student council. It's not like anybody's coming to you with their concerns. It's not like you sit with teachers to address school issues. You are just labelled VE, and everybody's like, "Oh, I want to be VE," and it's like, well, tough titties. He's VE. He's got the better blood than you. You're stuck. What's the point?
It seems the only point of being VE is so Cora and Celeste could manipulate him and use him.
Yeah, it was hollow. If you're going to make a title, if you're going to put so much emphasis on it and give this whole protracted blood tasting scene in, give me a point.
Yeah. It's kind of comes into play at the ski trip. They're like, well, you're the VE, you should be able to get this shit under control. I really feel like that was all just like a huge setup. All of it.
It felt like everybody was in on that one.
Yeah.
And oh my god, that entire bar scene where they're drinking the vodka from the ice sluices.
From the nipples.
And it's like,
what fucking bar are they at that has sex igloos and ice sculptures with boobs and dicks out that you suck on? What fucking bar is this that you're sending your students to?
Yeah, it was just, like I say, it's a stereotype turned to 11 and made ick. And I did not gel with that. And I don't want to say it's because I'm an adult reading YA. I don't think that isn't the problem here.
This
doesn't
feel YA to me though.
No, and it felt like poor writing.
It's her first book.
It is, and I will grant her that she has a lot to learn. but also it's her first book, and there are a team of editors when it's a published bit of fiction that also need to pick up on these and go, it's a bit weird, you know?
Yeah.
There's a team behind the book, not just
Yeah.
one. I'm not putting this onus on the author at all. There is a team responsible
Yeah.
for this freaking weird, creepy awkwardness.
Someone should have held her hand and been like, babe,
Too much.
This part, we got to tone it down.
Yeah.
You got to tone it down, or you need to age these characters up. And they need, like, I know that you want it to be in a boarding school, but
Cringe.
Yeah.
Okay. On the funny side, it turns out Big Pharma was the bad guy.
I did enjoy
Which
that.
we all knew anyway.
I did enjoy that quite a bit.
I did like that.
Quite a bit.
I did like that a lot. I'm hoping in the second book, because I think we have established well that we fucking hate Cora. I'm gonna jump a little bit to my surprises, but I want your take on this. I already said my
surprise like 48 minutes ago.
Well, exactly, but I'm going to jump to mine as well and say that Dylan's attraction to Cora, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It makes no freaking sense. She was a horrible person. Why? Please, somebody explain it to me. And I think I'm going to have to ask the book club if they understand why. I just do not get it.
It makes no sense. I mean, there is clearly a spark between them, because they're always like, oh, the electricity, oh, blah, 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 blah. But why?
I don't get it.
Like, there's nothing. Like, I can understand a relationship building between Dylan and Sade, because they spend time together.
Yeah.
More than once or twice on a rooftop and once fucking in an igloo. Dylan and Sade have an actual relationship where, you know, they're helping each other, and
they have conversations.
There's
and
conversation,
start to know each other.
And there's friendship. But
Cora, I don't get it.
I mean, is it just the way she looks? Because she's got a nose ring? Because she's badass? Like, I don't get it.
She's not badass. She's fucking annoying is what she is. And it's just so transparent as well. You know, Bram and Dylan both know that she is only with them to get something.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's fine. If you want to be that empowered, if you want to do that, and you want to make sure that the people that you're with understand that you're in a relationship with them for your own means, and those means are X, Y, and Z, because they're getting what they're getting from it. Fine. But everybody just seemed to think she was absolutely amazing for no freaking reason. And she was being horrible.
She was horrible. She was
100%
horrible. And you see her being horrible, not only with the way she treats Dylan and Bram, but like, what's her name? The year 3 leader?
I don't remember.
Something with an M, I can't remember. But and it's mentioned there's different types of vampires, and there's a different hierarchy, which I enjoyed. I thought that was really neat, because there's like the ancient vampires, and they have a pure bloodline, and then there's the ancient vampires who have married like newer vampires, so they're not ancient, and then they have a bloodline, and then there's people who are humans who were turned into a vampire, which, how do you do that? That's not explained at all, except for the fact that the teacher was a hippie and there was a ball sack. But how does that happen? Why does that happen? Explain that a little bit. And then you have, no, those are at the very bottom. Humans turned vampires are the lowest of the low, the trashiest of the trash. But Dhampirs are above them.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned that Dhampirs, all of the Dhampirs that exist in the world, have a vampire father. and a human mother, because the mother can't, like, her lady parts don't work. A vampire lady parts don't work, so she can't have a baby. But she did in this case, and also, Renesmee.
Always comes back to Renesmee.
Always
Well,
comes
I mean,
back to
that's the thing. Like, I enjoyed the lore, and I would have liked to have taken out some of the complexity of the challenges to increase the trial, and taken out some of the characters to increase the lore.
I would have liked to take out some of the classes and have Dylan attend vampire history.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
would have been a great way to get all of this information clear for
Yeah.
the readers.
I agree. I agree.
We
It
don't need to
was
have a sexy rolling around in the dry ice, whatever that was. And all of the times that they were in the ring with Ballsack getting punched in the face, punching Ballsacks like that, we could have done without those.
yeah. It was
I
yeah,
think
it
I think
needed
if
work.
we had gotten rid of Ballsack, it wouldn't have been so bad.
No, but at the same time, I think it would have missed Ballsack.
I mean, yeah, I probably would have missed Ballsack too after the fact. But if I feel like Ballsack's classes were
They were
unnecessary.
superfluous. Oh, they're completely. But I think that's it. The things that were important were either, like the history, missed out or cut short, like the trial, and things that weren't really as important, like the challenges and the list of characters, were kept in. I mean, when the parents come in as well, it's like, oh, let's just add in a few more people. I was like, oh my God, it's too many.
So many people.
I was losing patience with trying to remember. I couldn't tell you the names of the parents other than Celeste's dad was there, Bram's dad was there. I just didn't. It was lost in the mess.
Yeah.
But saying all that, it was an enjoyable read.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I want to continue reading the trilogy. I want to know what happens. What happens to Dylan? Dylan was a good character. He was interesting.
He was a
He
genuinely nice guy.
he was a genuinely nice guy. He has something, and you want to know what that something is. Why is he so special? Why is his blood so rare? How are we going to use his blood? Is he going to be able to help people? What's going to happen with Dylan's story? I want to know, but I don't really care
I don't care
about
about
the
the others.
other
I hope
stuff.
Cora does not come back. If he's gonna have a love interest, can we have Sade, please?
I would love for it to be Sade,
I
but
will
then they hold
riot in the streets
hands.
if it's Cora.
They hold hands and fly away at the end. But then when he's on the fucking ship and he's like, oh, well, I just left all of my friends behind. I wonder what Cora's doing. Like,
Oh,
no, stop thinking about Cora.
she's
What has she done to
horrible.
you? Can we find out, please, that Cora is like the ultimate evil or something? And she's going to do something and she's been manipulating him the whole time? I would be okay with that.
I'd be very okay with that. I would also be okay if she was left dead on a mountainside. Do not. I do. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Should we move on? Should we play Would You Rather?
Yeah. We asked. You're a vampire. Yay!
Yay.
And you've decided to fancy up your fangs. Would you rather engrave them with an intricate design or cover them in gold and or diamonds? Well, on Facebook, 71% are engraving. On Instagram, 60% are covering them with gold or diamonds. And on TikTok, 75% are engraving. We had Loads of
We have so
comments.
many comments. I'm choking. We had so many comments this time, and I'm really pleased. I'm glad.
Brie on Facebook said, I want the teeth tattoos, but I would take my time to pick a good design. It's on me literally forever, after all.
Vincent on Facebook said, I'd go with the gold. If you get them engraved, they're going to be harder to keep clean. The blood is going to ingrain itself into the grooves, and it's hard enough keeping regular teeth clean when you drink coffee / Pepsi Max / Diet Coke.
I'm drinking water.
Well,
In a spider cover. That glows in the dark. Constance on Facebook said, y'all know how I'm all about tattoos, hair dye, and pretty much anything to decorate your body to make it best represent yourself. Both options are cool, but I'd be more into intricate engravings.
Cody on Facebook said, I wouldn't trick my fangs, but my wardrobe maybe. Well, that's not an option.
Nope. Colin on Facebook said, I'll have the engraved gnashes, please. It looks so cool having the blood run through the intricate whorls and designs. Bling them out with gold and jewels just feels like you're asking for someone to kick them when you're passed out with a belly full of blood. I like a nap when I'm full, so I definitely have a little sleep after I'm filled up. Naps are great.
Naps are great. Fiona on Facebook says, I love these conundrums. Now, usually I would go for the art as I love a tattoo. However, not on my teeth. Shudder. So, gold and diamonds for me.
Coral on Facebook said, love a good filigree pattern with some stars and moons and fun swell.
Drew on Facebook says, engraving on teeth sounds painful. And I think the fang caps are pretty cool.
Prince Kai Fanpod on Instagram said, I like the idea of a subtle design, circa bloodlines, golden tattoos. But
Don't
not
end
on the
up.
face. Well, I suppose
Oh,
it's the
face
ultimate
tattoos.
face,
Face
isn't
tattoos.
it?
Glim Glam Jen on Instagram says, sparkle teeth.
This is the best response, though.
I really need sparkle teeth. Designs are fine, but these are the teeth of a killer, Bella.
Can we agree that Glim Glam Jen has won the comments?
That's the best answer. We need to send Glim Glam Jen a prize for that one, I think.
I think we do. I think we do. Lindsay Clare on Instagram said, I would just want my fangs to be diamonds, not all of my teeth. That would be too much dental work. I already went through enough with braces. Oh. Oh.
Candy Millwood on Instagram says diamond fangs. Is this a question? Yeah, it is a
It is.
question.
We asked a question. There was a clear question mark at the top.
Yeah. And you answered it, so thank you.
What did the library say?
The library had some good things to say this time. Some quite good things, actually. Someone printed out a picture of gold capped fangs and stuck that on the wall, which I appreciated. Someone said, "Ooh, yes, gold tipped fangs, yes." You ever seen Queen of the Damned?
Who
Design.
hasn't?
I feel like gold / diamonds would make me look like a SoundCloud rapper, which I need to find out who answered that one because they also need a prize.
They also spend far too much time on SoundCloud.
Yes, they do. Someone else said diamonds are a vamp's best friend. And then diamonds, I like the sparkle and would feel designs might look like food on my teeth. So all really good responses this time. So good. There's so many good answers. And yes. I love that they were very different. What are you going to do?
For the simple fact that metal in a mouth freaks me the hell out. And I feel sick at the thought of metal in my mouth. It has to be engraving.
Yeah.
Like, even if I know it's capped on teeth and stuff, no. And I didn't have braces as a child, so I haven't, had to experience that kind of thing. Like, closest is having fangs in now.
Yeah.
But no, it has to be the engravings. Just because I'll less likely vomit everywhere.
Yeah. I feel like the engraving is it's more badass,
Mm,
I feel like, than just like a gold tooth or a diamond attached to your tooth. I mean, that just seems like it would be really tacky.
yeah, it looks cheap.
Yeah. And also I feel like their fangs are very big. The way they're described sometimes, like when they're trying not they're trying to keep their fangs retracted, and that's their fangs pop out whenever they're around blood, right?
Yeah,
And their fangs pop out. And there are mentions of the fangs popping out and like pressing into their lower lip, and they're lisping all the time. So it's just like,
like walruses.
yeah. Are they walrus teeth?
Yes. Or saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah. I feel like they're comically large.
Yeah,
So if I had those, you'd have more space to engrave. You can do a really cool and intricate design. So I'm engraving them. I'm engraving my teeth.
yeah, same. Same. Can we move on? Because the idea of metal in my mouth is freaking me out.
Yeah. Yeah, we can. So the next
Oh,
question has a lot of responses because as we mentioned, there are too many characters in this book. So this one is, would you rather be roommates with insert list of all 12 students here? Who?
Sade.
Sade?
Yeah. I think she's got her head screwed on. She doesn't want to do sexy times all the time. She
Yeah.
likes to read.
Yeah.
She likes to do research. She's inquisitive. I think she'd probably enjoy puzzles and gaming as well.
Yeah.
I feel like I could hang out in Starbloods, which I still love the name. And just like chat. I think she's probably the most personable. So unless I'm gonna go with Jeremiah, who I love Jeremiah, I think he was a big
Jeremiah, I
sweetie.
think, for all of the exact same reasons that you
Yeah.
just said.
Well, you have Jeremiah and I'll have Sade, and then we can
Oh,
just like have
great.
sleepovers together.
Yeah, that would be really fun. I really liked Jeremiah.
Yeah.
He was a good guy.
When he came out at the trial against Dylan, I was like, oh no. I felt actually very hurt by that. Offended.
Yes.
Don't do that, Jeremiah. You're a nice guy.
Yeah. Especially on the way, when Dylan is actually explaining what really did happen, which he did tell him. I mean, he didn't say in so many words like, yeah, we were just fucking in that igloo. But Jeremiah knows Dylan, and he's like, yeah, I see you leave with Cora and you come back all starry eyed. Like, something's going on.
Oh,
But the fact that Dylan told him what went on, then he's like, oh, yeah, he totally told me that he accidentally killed that girl. And then he felt bad about it. So he used his blood to try to heal her. Like, that, it was really hurtful. And I appreciate the fact that Dylan didn't just immediately forgive him. He's like, yeah, it's cool. I understand that you were compelled to lie and it's not your fault, but still, like, yikes, man, you're my best friend.
yeah,
That's rough. But I'm still gonna pick him because I like him the best. Did your
yeah.
teeth fall out? It looked like you were like trying to keep your teeth in.
No, I'm trying to keep a sneeze back, if I'm perfectly honest.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Would you rather fly in the vertical tunnel or the horizontal tunnel?
I'm gonna I'm gonna go the horizontal tunnel because I'm gonna use my powers as Lord and Master of my own Would You Rather and say that I already know how to fly and I'm not just being thrown in the first time by a teacher that hates my guts out. Um, but I feel like trying to fly fast would be more fun
Yeah.
than like going up and down. And also, like the whole heights thing, I don't like it, so I don't want to go high up in the air.
That's fair. I'm picking horizontal tunnel too for the same reasons you did. Give me speed.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool how they like you can fly at these certain speeds and they do that in the wind tunnel. I thought that was neat. There were so many neat and interesting and good
Hmm.
things about this book. I feel like
Hitting
we've
the way.
spent the majority of our time completely trashing it, but there really were good things in it.
The thing is, though, it's a trashy book, but it's a compelling read. I am
Yeah.
recommending people read this. I
Yeah.
genuinely am recommending people read this. There is a 99.99% chance that we are going to cover the other books in the
Of
trilogy.
course we are.
Of course we are, because you don't have to take. Sometimes you just need a vampire book that you do not take seriously.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to read a trashy book.
Uh-huh. And this is a trashy book, but the best kind of trashy book.
Yeah.
It's not going to change your world,
No.
but it's not going to open up a new dawn of vampire fiction.
No.
But you're going to have a fun time reading it.
Yes.
Anywho, next question.
Next question. That's my turn. Fuck. You're like staring at me, and I'm like, yeah, Claire, go ahead and read the next fucking question. What are you waiting on? Duh.
You.
Duh, Claire, it's your turn. Duh. No, it's
I
not. It's my
think
turn.
I think we're crashing Amanda. That daft half an hour has turned into a crash.
I really need Cora to kiss me so I can get a boost.
Yes, Cora, get your ass over here and smooch us up. It's the
Would
only
you
thing you're good
rather?
for.
Oh, that was so stupid. Would you rather go to combat, hunt, and protect class or mind powers class?
Mind powers class, because I want to blow shit up with my mind.
I want to mist. I want to mist.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
I
I
also
want.
did.
I just want to be able to like use my force powers.
Yeah, yeah. I just, I want to pick mind powers too because I don't want to hang out with a ball sack.
Oh, I like Churro though, and his little turns
I
into a
did
little
like
bat.
Chiro. I liked Chiro, and I'm glad that he was there on the ship at the end.
Yeah,
Chiro, he's another character that I really, really liked.
same.
He was good. But yeah,
Bat.
I want to see
Would
more
you
Chiro.
rather? Yes. Would you rather compete in the flying challenge or the ice challenge or the ski trip
Oh,
challenge? Can we just say it, not the ski trip challenge because it's stupid?
yeah, I don't want to go on the sexy ski trip.
I'm gonna pick the flying challenge because that ice challenge was just convoluted and cold and wet. At least the flying challenge I can do loop loops and go
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, I'm gonna agree with you because the ice challenge it was too much. It was too much. That's a third year challenge. That is not a first year challenge at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna do the flying challenge too. Even though I don't love heights, but I do want to fly in the horizontal tunnel and be fast.
But the thing
So
is, though, in this Would You Rather, if you've got the ability to fly because you're a vampire, you're not going to have that fear of heights
that's
either because you
true.
can will it away
Yeah,
because you
that's
are
true.
Lord and Master of all that you survey.
Right. Yeah. So I'm gonna fly around. I'm gonna fly around. I'm gonna fly around with Angelo. I'm gonna go and save Angelo if I need to.
Yeah,
Because I liked Angelo and he needs saving.
I'm just going to go really fast.
Yeah, it's fine.
But with someone because you got a buddy up. There's a
Yeah.
buddy system.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite? Final thought quote. What you got?
Got a couple. Come on, Dylan, don't be boring. He's so nice, though.
Come on, Dylan. Don't be boring. Come on, Dylan.
Okay, are we doing bad accents now?
That's what it sounded like. Come on, Dylan.
Okay, the next one is Dylan. So I'm gonna have to affect terrible Irish accent. Aegis. My dad's not feckin' Count Dracula.
That just sounded like your regular voice.
Thanks.
But you did a good job. You don't sound stupid.
I do enjoy doing really terrible, bad Irish accents when I'm doing story time with the child. And then get told, Mommy, please stop. Storybook theatre is a thing in my life.
It's an amazing thing. Come on, Dylan.
Feckin' Count Dracula. Right, you take over.
Shit. Talk about upping the stakes. I only like it because it's a pun.
I love a pun.
Furiously, he kicked himself. What an inarticulate moron. This one's actually good. You must stand up for what is right. You can't change something that is wrong by giving up. Way to go, Ducan. Come on, Dylan.
Dylan.
Oh, I also I can hear your heart, so you clearly still breathe. And I can see the blood in your skin. So what bits are vampire? Wink sexually.
Sexually winking at you.
Sexually asking this question.
Oh, so sexual.
If you liked this, try this. What are you going to suggest?
Well, the one I was going to suggest was already in the script. So I couldn't suggest that one. So I went for something that's not particularly necessarily vampires at all, but it's got monsters in.
Fine.
And it's The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. And we like T. Kingfisher.
T. Kingfisher.
And this one sounds fun. When a young woman clears out her deceased grandmother's home in rural North Carolina, she finds long-hidden secrets about a strange colony of beings in the woods. When Mouse's dad asks her to clean out her dead grandmother's house, she says, yes. After all, how bad could it be? Answer, pretty bad. Grandma was a hoarder, and her house is stuffed with useless rubbish. That would be horrific enough, but there's more. Mouse stumbled across to her step-grandfather's journal, which at first seems to be filled with nonsensical rants until Mouse encounters some of the terrifying things he described for herself. Alone in the woods with her dog, Mouse finds herself face to face with a series of impossible terrors, because sometimes the things that go bump in the night are real, and they're looking for you. And if she doesn't face them head on, she might not survive to tell the tale. I think that sounds fun.
Sound very fun.
The hashtag tenuous link is there's trees and something in the woods. Could it be rogue vampires out to get you for your unique blood?
That is such a hashtag tenuous link.
Could they just be having sexual times?
Sexually.
Sexual minute. Sexually.
Sexually.
Could it just be a ball sack in the trees?
There's probably a ball sack in the trees.
Who knows?
Haunted.
What have you got? And is it it's less hashtag tenuous?
It's less hashtag tenuous link. It's called Youngblood by Sasha Lawrence. And I feel like I've mentioned this before, but I could not find it going back and searching through other things that we've suggested. But I swear We've talked about this one before, but you know
That
what?
sounds very
It
familiar.
sounds very familiar, and even the cover looks very familiar. But I'm going to read it again if I did read it before, but I don't think that I did, but I'm going to share it
That's
anyway.
fine. Go for it.
Cat Finn and her mother can barely make ends meet living among humans. Like all vampires, they must drink hema, an expensive synthetic blood substitute, to survive, as nearly all of humanity has been infected by a virus that's fatal to vampires. Kat isn't looking forward to an immortal life of barely scraping by, but when she learns she's been accepted to the Harcourt School, a prestigious prep school that's secretly vampires only, she knows her fortune is about to change. Taylor Sanger has grown up in the wealthy vampire world, but she's tired of its backward conservative values, especially when it comes to sexuality, since she's an out and proud lesbian. She only has to suffer through 2 more years of Harcourt before she's free. But when she discovers her new roommate is Cat Finn, she's horrified because she and Cat used to be best friends a long time ago, and it didn't end well. When Taylor stumbles upon the dead body of a vampire and Kat makes a shocking discovery in the school's archives, the two realize that there are deep secrets at Harcourt, secrets that link them to the most powerful figures in vampiredom and to the synthetic blood they all rely on.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah, sounds really good.
Yes. I'm saying yes, as in,
Yeah,
yes, it sounds really good. Yes, it sounds familiar. Yes, it looks familiar. I think it's one of these books that we've probably talked about.
we've probably talked about wanting to cover it.
Yes. Rather than actually seeing the words on a podcast.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Anywho, do we have a new an indie spotlight? I know we do because
Yes, yes, we do. And this one has passed through my hands at the library, and I really want to check it out. And I mean, I bought it. I bought it for the library. I read about it. I knew it was coming, and I didn't put it on hold, and I haven't done anything to read it myself. But I want to read it. It's called Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. As the daughter of a rancher in 1840s Mexico, Nina knows a thing or two about monsters. Her home has long been threatened by tensions with Anglo settlers from the north, but something more sinister lurks near the ranch at night, something that drains men of their blood and leaves them for dead. Something that once attacked Nina 9 years ago. Believing Nina dead, Nestor has been on the run from his grief ever since, moving from ranch to ranch, working as a vaquero. But no amount of drink can dispel the night terrors of sharp teeth. No woman can erase his childhood sweetheart from his mind. When the United States attacks Mexico in 1846, the two are brought abruptly together on the road to war. Nina as a curandera, a healer striving to prove her worth to her father, so that he does not marry her off to a stranger, and Nestor as a member of the auxiliary cavalry of ranchers and vaqueros. But the shock of their reunion and Nina's rage at Nestor for seemingly abandoning her long ago is quickly overshadowed by the appearance of a nightmare made flesh. And unless Nina and Nestor can work through their past and face the future together, neither will survive to see the dawn.
Ooh.
It sounds
I
so
held
good.
it in
It
my
just came out.
hands.
I held it in
Yeah,
my hands the other day.
I found it on Monday. I took pictures of it along with a few other horror books. I remember sending them to you. Go and look at what I found. They look amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Oh, how fun! I love The Graveyard Book. It's so good. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite fictional hangover themed merchandise and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book. Can't get my mouse to work so I can stop recording.